One of the most eye-catching features of the budget was Chancellor George Osborne's decision to allocate £130 billion. Yeah, I'll read that again. £130 billion of taxpayers' cash to subsidise mortgages. Up to 20% of the value of new build properties will be underwritten by the taxpayer. It's a measure designed to kickstart the economy. But how important really is it to own your own home? Will this help you get your foot on the housing ladder? Or is the Chancellor just gambling with taxpayers' cash? Give us a call, 08453 00 9956. Let's speak to Wealth Manager Jonathan Davis. Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning, Adrian.
You're not impressed?
I don't think there's any doubt that this is a vote winner. The point is, governments and chancellors, they don't do budgets in order to sort out the economy. The whole point of a budget is to win elections, and not just the coalition, but all political parties. And although it may not seem it, it was 3 years ago that we had the last general election, and it's only 2 years, which in political terms I would suggest is round the corner, that we're going to have the next general election. So he clearly is looking to build a war chest, not only of money to give breaks over the next couple of years, but also a war chest of vote winners. And there's no doubt, I don't think that this, I think, should I say, that this policy, help to buy, is going to be a very big vote winner. However, it will be disastrous for the economy, and in the long term, the individuals who take up this will rue the day. Yes, in the short term, no doubt, it will help them get into a property that they want to get into, and no doubt for a couple or maybe a few years, they will do very well out of it. The problem is, it's not taking into account the global economy, which is at best fragile, and in fact is likely to turn down big time. The UK hasn't had any economic growth for 6 years, and this kind of policy only exacerbates that. It does not help growth, I assure you of that. And secondly, it doesn't, it assumes that there will not be interest rate rises in the future. Nothing could be further from the truth. Directly because of the Help to Buy scheme, I think we can expect in a few years interest rates to start rising and then to continue rising for a generation.
Listen,
you tell me what that's going to do to the debtors.
Jonathan, in that scenario, the gloomy scenario, if you like, that you propose, people will buy a house, and this isn't just for new build properties. After a certain date, it will apply to all properties up to 600 grand. It will help people get their foot on the housing ladder. But of course, if the housing market should decline, then people will be left in negative equity, and potentially the government could be left holding debt because people won't be able to repay the 20% of the mortgage that they've been advanced to the taxpayer.
You're hitting so many nails on the head there. Look, this is what I call the Bill Clinton budget. In the 90s and 2000s, because of Bill Clinton's policies, anyone in the US, whether you could afford it or not, was able to buy property. By the way, a little caveat, what does buy property mean? It means you borrow an awful lot of money. Nobody's buying property here. That's a fallacy. Think about it. And this is yet another propping up of house prices. It is not, as you say, to help the housing market, because the housing market has had successive policies for several years to help it, and yet the housing market is still down 50%. Ask any estate agent who's selling half the number of properties he or she was selling, say, 5 or 6 years ago.
Well, listen, Jonathan, I want to put this out to our listeners. I appreciate your time this morning. Is this a reckless act by George Osborne, offering to underwrite mortgages? What if the housing market should decline even further? Won't the government be left with loads of debt? Or do you welcome this as a chance to get your foot on the housing ladder? 08453 00 9956.